Feminism is a movement that is rapidly gaining grounds in our society. And like most new concepts, it has been received with mixed reactions. Some have accepted it, some have rejected it, while some don't even know what to make of it. What is apparent, however, is the fact that a lot of people don't understand it. On the show today, we'll be discussing feminism, and Olumide Akinshola will be joining us to share his perspective on the topic, and we'll be discussing the myths and facts of the movement, as well as its practicality within the African setting. I am Rokomi Orumuyi, and this is The Chat Room. Hello, Olumide.
Hi.
Welcome to The Chat Room.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
Nice to have you
really
here.
Really nice to be here. Thank
All
you.
right. So feminism, like I'm so happy that it's a manly man who is our guest to talk about feminism. Because usually people think that men who associate with feminism are sissies. But you know, I could have asked Olumide to stand up so that you see how...
Trust me, he has an intimidating physique.
He is. Okay, so anytime the feminism conversation comes up, a lot of men get uncomfortable. I don't want to say jittery, uncomfortable. What exactly, because I don't understand why. What exactly about it makes men so uncomfortable?
I think they get uncomfortable because they are threatened. Okay, and all of it is a bit because we don't understand the concept of feminism, as it were, or because we focus more on some people who seem to promote what is not feminism and call it feminism, but we're going to get to that, I imagine. So I feel like men think that feminism is coming for them, that you know they're no longer going to have wives, you know, they're no longer going to have jobs because all the women are coming for their jobs, they're coming for their lives, more or less. So everybody gets a bit defensive, especially when they when the conversation gets a bit heated and it gets combative, right? So everybody gets defensive and people think, no, I must defend this one, I must defend what I know, I must defend my culture, I must defend this, I must defend that. But at the end of the day, you realize that many of these things are really unfounded, because feminism is really saying that, you know, nobody should be discriminated against based on their gender, right? People should be able to exist in the workplace, people should be able to exist in the community or in society without somebody saying, okay, so because she's a woman or because, you know, she's like that, so people should not go beyond this level, on she should not aspire to this thing, or she should not do this, and she should not do that. All of that is wrong. I mean, we all know that is wrong, because everybody is a human being. Both men and women are human beings, and everybody needs to know that at the end of the day, we all have a right to life. We all have a right to aspire to become whoever we want to become in life. You know, so at the end of the day, we're all just saying, let everybody be human.
Let them maximize their potential.
Right? Let everybody be human. Let nobody be looked down on, or let nobody be underrated based on the fact that you know, there are women and all of that, which is really what feminism is. So I feel that as soon as we continue to, the more we continue to have these conversations, the better it's going to get for people who are defensive.
More people.
And yes, and I feel like some of us who are feminists need to understand that, in as much as we're angry about some of these things and we want to be, you know, if the goal is to actually make a difference, right, then we want to watch the way we engage these topics. Because when it becomes combative, when it becomes a fight, everybody gets defensive. And when people get defensive, nothing changes. It just degenerates into a fight, and everybody fights, and everybody goes home. Nobody learns anything. Nothing changes, right? So at the end of the day, we want to have these conversations, and we want to put our foot down and say, look, this is what needs to obtain. But also we want to be careful about how we have the conversation, because sometimes it may not, if you get in a conversation with somebody about feminism or about one of the elements of feminism today, you may not be able to convince them today.
Yes.
Right?
So it's a working process.
Exactly.
It's a journey.
So it's a journey that you continue to take. Maybe some other time, if something happens again, or you guys find a way to get in conversation again, you're able to tell them a bit more about what you mean. And then maybe at some other point, you're able to tell them a bit more. This happens mostly, or I have observed that this happens mostly amongst men, right? So if you're hanging with your boys, or you're hanging with your male friends and all of that, and you people start these conversations, there are usually different, you know, sides to the story at the table and all of that. So if you are that one lone voice who is saying, look, you guys, this thing is not right, we should not do it, we should not do it, and they tell you, you don't know anything, get out, that kind of thing. The more we begin to have these conversations, the more it begins to, you know, we begin to effect the change that we want. And it may not happen in a day, it may not happen in a week, but the longer we have them, the more we have them, the more we try to convince people
change
that
slowly but surely. But one of the
exactly.
things also I notice is people bring feminism down to washing plates or being in the kitchen. And so obviously people, if I say I'm a feminist, people think, oh, you don't want to get married, or you don't want to submit in court, or you just want to shirk your domestic roles or duties, etc.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on this? What do you say when guys in your circle say this kind of thing?
So I think that culturally, I don't like saying culturally, but what seems to have become our culture now is that many people think that some of these roles are for women, right? So if a guy is okay in certain circles for a guy to not know how to cook or to not know how to clean up after himself or something, but it's not okay for a woman to say that she does not know how to cook, she does not like cooking, right? And in certain circles, this is okay because of what they think is our cultural, you know, our cultural values and all of that. But if we go back down in history, we have found that you will see that our forefathers, our forefathers, maybe even pre-colonial times, our forefathers did not, and our mothers at the time, our great-great-great-great-great-grandmothers at that time, were not people who just sat down and waited for, you know, their husband to come and do things. They were not really fully domestic, right? They went to the farms to go and help their husbands. They went to go and help their husbands tend to the farm and to the crops. They went to go and help their husbands harvest crops, and they went to the market to go and sell these things and make money for themselves, which they then brought back to the home to come and, you know, use to run the home and all of that. So they were actually very active working people at these times. So I don't know at what point it became a thing for us to say, you know, it's a man that's supposed to bring all of the money and the women are not supposed to sit down at home and be cooking and be bearing children and all of that and all of that. I don't know at what point that became a thing, but many people feel like that's what it is. So when the feminism conversation comes up, people feel like the people are robbing, that they're trying to rob them of, you know, the wives that are going to cook for them, that they're trying to make them go hungry and all of that, which is wrong. You know, so like I said, the more we begin to have these conversations, the better it will get in the long run. You know, everybody will understand that this is how this thing is supposed to be, and there are some things that people even do against women that are outright criminal. You know, like when we take it a notch higher or further, and we begin to talk about the issue of sexual harassment and how men think that they have a right to women's bodies or to women's responses and all of that. All of these things are things that they are more important, in my opinion. They are more important things that feminism seeks to eradicate. Right? It's not just about cooking,
absolutely.
You know, because women are human beings. They should be able to go out whenever they want. They should be able to feel safe while they're doing all of that. They should be able to, you know, sit on a train or in a bus and not have somebody trying to grope them or somebody's trying to speak some way to them. You know, so I feel like these are more important things that feminism focuses on, and the more we begin to dwell on the seemingly on the not so important aspects, which is
I don't want to say petty.
I don't want to say petty because it's important to some people. That's why I'm saying that. As far as I'm concerned, because I can only speak for myself at you know, on several levels. But as far as I'm concerned, I know that it's important for some people. I may not understand it, but I mean that's just the way it is. You know, so it's not as important as somebody's life. When somebody's life is at stake because she's in a community or in an environment where she's been sexually harassed or where she's been raped or things like that, then we cannot be talking about who's going to be cooking the food and who's going to be washing clothes.
So even abuse in our home, in a matrimonial
even abuse in the matrimonial home, because the husband feels entitled to his wife's everything,
to correct you by cane.
And she must be. And you also notice that in many of these situations, the women are the hardest, the fiercest gatekeepers, right? Women are the ones who say whatever your women pastors say these things. Yes, granted, men do it.
All over the
women
internet,
say this, women pastors,
women,
you know, religious leaders across different religions say this all of the time, that you must obey your husband. Anytime he says come, you must go. Whether you are tired or not, it doesn't matter.
I even saw one recently where the woman said, you're complaining that your husband is going around, sleeping around, you know,
you should welcome
when
him
he comes back, welcome him home
from cheating,
give him good sex, wash his clothes, and I'm like, girl,
it's irresponsible. Really? It's really irresponsible. That's I see these things and I'm just gobsmacked.
Women are the ones enabling.
How can you say that it's okay for
it's a pick-me mentality. They want to be liked by some men, so they feel if I bash other women, men will like me, and that's
where are the consequences for some of these terrible behaviors. If you say yeah, you are going to be loyal to one person and you get married to them or whatever, even if you are not married, if you are in a relationship with them,
committed
and
relationship,
you make a verbal commitment and to them to say that it's going to be you and I. We're not. I mean, it's a different scenario if we say we're in an open marriage
relationship
or in an open relationship or whatever. That's a different scenario. But if we decide that we want to be together, nobody forced you. Nobody had a gun to your head. And then you are seeing other people outside. These things happen, but let's not justify it. Right? That's my position. All right? Because we're all human beings. Everybody has weaknesses there and there. But when it happens, understand that it is wrong. All right? And understand that it's not normal and it needs to change. And women should not justify it.
No, it's okay. It's normal for men.
Exactly.
But if the tables were turned, if it was a woman who did that, everybody will come for her jugular.
Which is grossly unfair because women are human beings too and they have feelings too, and the women can be polygamous too if they want.
No, it's only men that are polygamous.
No. Women can be polygamous if they want. A woman can like two guys. A woman can have a boyfriend or a husband and see another guy that she thinks is hot and say, oh wow, this guy is hot, this one, that one. But all of these things, men think that women are not supposed to think in that way, and it's okay for men to think in this way. And another thing that I notice in our generation is that because that is the way that our fathers were, we think that's what we also have to be.
Absolutely.
Right? And then I've had conversations with many of my friends and I've said, look, you cannot be doing this. This is not right. And it's like, well, my father was a bastard too, so I also will be a bastard. Something. I'm like, you don't have to be a bastard because your father was a bastard. It doesn't make any sense.
Better.
You can do better.
Do better.
Absolutely.
You know, you should, if you know better, you are in an age where you have access to information. You are in an age where you have access to all kinds of research and all kinds of things that people have done that show that some of these things are actually wrong. So if you have this information at your fingertips, even if you don't have it at your fingertips, you can pick up your phone and go to Google and look for some of these things. And when you find that some of these things are wrong and there's a downside to it that affects a particular agenda, then you should be able to say, look, I don't want to be a part of this and I want to change it. But don't say that because your father had 3 wives and 500 children outside, apart from you and your sister, so you also must have 5 wives, and it doesn't make any sense as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Feminism is really about getting rid of patriarchy, really. And patriarchy doesn't only affect women. It also affects men negatively. But a lot of men don't realize it. Can we talk about some of the ways that patriarchy negatively affects men?
Yes, so patriarchy is so I always say this before I start talking about patriarchy. I always say that, look, we all came to this world and met patriarchy. Both men
and women.
We did not create it. I did not start it. I came and I found out, okay, this is how the people behave. This is how they are supposed to behave. And that's fine. But it does not justify it. And the better I know about these things, the more I should change my behavior and my character to suit the new information that I now, or to reflect the new information that I now have. Right? So men have been told since time immemorial that you are not supposed to cry, you're not supposed to show emotions.
It's not your emotions.
And it's not important for you to know how to cook.
Yes, you handle everything, financial, everything. You are the man. You are
the man of the house. You must provide money, even when you're having a downtime at work.
Yes, don't
show it. And even if your wife is able to help, don't take help from her because it's supposed to be your responsibility. This one, that one. All of these things are negative ways in which patriarchy affects men, and we are dying under a lot of pressure. Many men are committing suicide. Many men are going through all kinds of emotional things when they can just open up to somebody and somebody can just help them. I don't even get the idea of not taking help from your own wife. I mean, why are you sharing your life with her if she cannot pitch in to help you? But because I'm supposed to be a man, if I take money from her, if she brings money to the family, it makes me weak. That's the conversation that has been had, in cultural circles, that you're supposed to be a stand. So, and life happens in such ways that sometimes there are downtimes for everybody, right? A guy that was doing great, that was able to provide everything for his family last year, may come this year and may not be that buoyant. And if your wife is okay to help, maybe she has a business or she works or something, and she's okay to help, why will you not take the help just because society says that you shouldn't? So all of these are ways in which, and then emotionally as well, you cannot talk about your feelings, you cannot cry, you cannot say I love you to your father, you cannot say I love you to yourself. I was talking to somebody, I was on a radio show, and then we were talking about, I think it was Father's Day or at some point. And we were talking about, we had, listeners call in and we're talking about fathers and how, could you say, I love you to your father? What would be his reaction? This one, that one. And somebody called in and said, that why is he going to be saying he loves his son? That I cannot say I love you to his son. That is And I'm
That's
like,
pretty sad.
Oh, okay, so can you say it to your daughter? He said yes, but to your son you can't say it. He said no, that you can't say I love you. Why? That is going to make him weak. Something. And I'm like,
gosh.
I don't get. This is somebody, your own son. You cannot.
Yes.
So this thing has really eaten deep into the fabric of society. So the more we are able to snap out of some of these things, and the more sensitization we can carry out, starting from our immediate families and extended families, and even into our immediate social circles, the more we educate people about some of these things, the more we can hope that things will begin to change. Because at the end of the day, it's the change that we are looking for. We are not looking to assert superiority, nor are we looking to get.
Women are just trying to
we're not fighting.
potential. Absolutely. I mean, one of the things for me with feminism also is that why not allow people to do what works for you? Because I see also with people that are referred to as extreme feminists also sometimes bash other women for maybe
for some of their choices.
Submitting to their husband for some of their choices.
It's fine. I mean, it's a tricky scenario, I will admit, because if we are saying that, you know, there are some like the women that I mentioned earlier that are gatekeepers of patriarchy. You can say that you can expect that when some of these women take some decisions, maybe in the workplace or in the home or something, it's going to be decisions that favor patriarchy, right? But the way to change that is not by fighting. Right? It's not by abusing them for taking these decisions. Everybody will take a decision. If you are faced with any situation in this life, everybody will take a decision based on what their exposure and experiences have been.
Exactly.
Right? So if a woman takes a decision that seems to promote patriarchy more rather than eradicate it, then you have to understand that that's where she's coming from, and it's because she does not really know better. So you respect her decision. So in making an approach to getting her to not take that decision next time, it's not going to be fight. It's going to be a conversation. It's going to be an education to say, look, this is why you cannot do this. This is why you cannot do that. And next time, maybe you should consider doing this, or maybe you should consider doing that. Let her talk back. Let her say her mind, and you can say your mind, and then maybe you have a superior argument, and she believes you, and then we begin to change things, you know, like that. So it's not by insulting people or by abusing people or by yabbing. Let people make choices that work for them. If you feel like, you know, the choices that they make don't work for you, or you feel like the choices that they make are harmful to some other people, you can have a conversation with them to say, look, you can't be doing this, and this is why you can't be doing this, and you cannot do that, and this is why you can't. And at the end of the day, we hope, like I said, sometimes you may not see the effects of these conversations or these things immediately. It may take a week, it may take a month, it may take a year, you know. But the more you begin to sow these seeds in people's subconscious, the more they remember them when they are faced with certain situations, and the more they are able to take better decisions
the next
regarding some of these things.
Yes. You know? Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lumide. I mean, obviously you can see he's very passionate about this subject, and we're very happy to have him in our corner. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. I must also mention very quickly that there are some people who are. It's a very you know, it's a controversial topic, but I feel like some people are in certain positions of influence, right? And some younger women look up to them because they call themselves feminists, and they seem to, you know, promote certain values that some younger women are able to identify. Maybe they have faced, you know, some kind of harassment in some place, or they face some kind of ceiling that's been put over their heads, maybe in their career or something, and then they see some of these women maybe on social media, and they're able to identify with them and all of that. You know, they want to be friends with them. They take the relationship offline and all of that. It's very dangerous for you to say something and do something else, right? Hypocrisy, as it were. It's dangerous for you to say, okay, this is what you should do, this is what should obtain, and then in your personal life, when you are when you are out of the spotlight, as it were, when your audience is not there, you are doing the exact opposite of what you are saying, right? So some of these things hamper they disturb the message, or they take away from the message that feminism is trying to propound, and it becomes an issue for me personally. When I know somebody, I usually take it up with them. When I know somebody in real life and how they act and how they behave, and then I see them on maybe Facebook or on Twitter or someplace, and I see that they are saying something else, and I will call them and say, Alaye, what are you talking about? Have you forgotten that people who know you, they exist on these platforms? You know, if you want to promote this thing, promote it fully and live a life that promotes it, rather than rather than just say things. They say one thing and mean something else. What you find is that some of these women have younger women who have fashioned their lives, whether they like it or not, who have fashioned their lives after them. That's fine. They did not ask to be celebrities, nor do they ask to be mentors to anybody. They just opened social media and started talking, right? But what you find is that their message is not consistent, and it needs to be consistent so that the feminism that they want to promote, or the ideology that they want to promote, the ideology that they want to be a part of, right, becomes something that people see in their lives, and it's easy to then get people to change, you know, when that happens.
Absolutely.
So yes, hypocrisy, as it were. Again, I must mention that
is the message.
every ideology in this life has extremists.
Yes.
And hypocrites.
There's some people who say
exactly, because they're hypocrites. So I found that this lady who says she's a feminist isn't, so are not going to be feminist. They're hypocrites, Christians, Muslims, atheists, whatever.
There are extremist Muslims.
Absolutely.
You don't see actual Muslims saying I'm no longer a Muslim because people are bombing places in some corners of the world. You don't see that when there was a Christian crusade where people were killed, you know, in times past, when people were killed for being Christians, and it's still happening right now. There are extremist Christians. There are pastors who are doing whatever they like on the pulpit, and, you know, messing up young ladies' lives and all of that, even in this Nigeria, right? You don't see people saying I'm not a Christian because this person is doing. So if you see extremist feminists, it should not make you say that I'm not a feminist because of this extremism. Extremism exists in every ideology in this life, right? So the fact that people are, and also you can see that there are hypocrites in every ideology too in this life. There are people who say they are Christians who are no longer,
and their lives are not consistent.
Their lives are not consistent. They exist. There are extremists. There are people who choose certain ideologies, who choose to identify with certain ideologies to promote selfish interests. They exist across board. Christianity, you know, Islam, whatever it is, even Marxism has them. You understand? So, and at the end of the day, you realize that these things, the fact that people are using, you know, certain ideologies to promote certain selfish values. And also another thing is that some people don't like to be labeled, and that's fine. You know, some people say, you know, I don't want to be labeled a feminist and so on, but it's really not important what you choose to call yourself. As long as you are promoting the values, as long as you are giving the values.
Absolutely.
You may say you are not a feminist, but just ensure that in whatever circle, in whatever sphere you find yourself, you are not discriminating against a woman because of gender. Because of gender, you are not sexually harassing or catcalling on any of those other things where women are concerned. You are not doing any of the things that are against, you know, that let me not say against feminism, because, you know, we don't want to be labeled, but you are not doing anything that reduces the humanity of another person, rather, right, or a woman or another person. You are not doing something that reduces their humanity or that reduces their agency. Then if you are doing all of that, I'm fine with you not being a feminist. Don't call yourself a feminism. It's just at the end of the day, it's just a label. If you don't want to be you don't have to be. As long what you are doing is important. It's more important than what you are called by. You know, so let everybody just understand that other people are human beings as well. Women are human beings, and they should be respected as such, and nobody should discriminate against them based on their agenda. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Thank you so
lovely.
much.
Thank you so much, Olumide. Thank you for coming, and thank you for passionately, you know, just holding the forth. It's amazing hearing you speak about feminism, and I hope that you have been inspired as well, and you're a little more educated, especially those who feel like their stances, they're very anti-feminism. Maybe, hopefully, Olumide has been able to sort of educate you a bit. So thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time when we're back your way, don't forget, it's always a good time for
Real talk and deep conversations.